Does Gen Z only care about themselves? Are we raising a selfish generation? Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I talk all about fitness, self-improvement, and then once in a while I do also talk about discourse of important topics in society, like today's video. Today's video is going to be all about empathy and the discourse surrounding whether or not Gen Z is an extremely unempathetic generation. I see a lot of older generations, especially like baby boomers or even millennials, just coming at Gen Z for not being empathetic, just being extremely rude to their teachers, to like the adults in their life. And I can definitely see that. It is pretty alarming growing up in this generation and seeing just the lack of caring, patience, and understanding we have for one another. We glorify like putting yourself first. We preach that we don't need anyone and that we need to protect our peace. But then on the other hand, we're also extremely lonely. Like, we're just a really lonely generation, and we see people complaining about it. But when you dissect everything, it's like, yeah, no wonder. And I've been there too. Like, there's so many times where I put myself in a position where I'm lonely, right? Like, I was the one who cut everybody off. I was the one who was not showing up as a good friend to others. And then I was complaining that I was alone on my birthday, that I was feeling lonely, that I hadn't seen friends in forever. And it's like, no shit, like, you did that to yourself. And while I love that our generation is just really strong on setting boundaries to protect our peace, because it is important, and those boundaries do help us show up as a better friend, a better daughter, a better cousin, or whatever it is, right? Boundaries are important, but we also have to realize like when we take it too far, because our generation is also really good at setting extremes. So I saw this article about convenience and comfort being the price of community. And this was very interesting to me because I noticed a lot in the past where I was like at the peak of my self-improvement journey, or like the start of the journey, and I didn't hang out with people, or I didn't help certain people. Maybe those people were my friends at the time, and my reasoning was because it was like low-key an inconvenience. Maybe I had planned out my entire day, and I'm really big on schedules, so I plan out my entire days beforehand, and somebody would hit me up like, hey, I'm just feeling really sad right now, like, are you busy? Do you think we can hang out? And then I would be like, no, and I would justify it because I'm like, well, I already planned out my day. I already have X, Y, and Z to do today. And, you know, yes, sometimes, you know, you can't always just like forego your schedule, forego your goals to help out a friend. But I think once in a while, you should. Like, you have to. That is the price that you have to pay for the friendship. You have to give up your convenience. You know, when I'm not in a good place to be helping out other people, like let's say my mental health is just shit, I'm having multiple breakdowns, and I just really need to get my shit together. I have bipolar disorder, so my emotions, when my mental health is just really bad, like I'm unable to show up as what I would think of as a good person. Like I'm not a horrible person, but I am more likely to just like burst out on people for just very slight things. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like another whole other topic. And so when I know that my mental health is shit, like I'm probably gonna say no to helping other people out unless it's like a huge emergency, because I know that I have to take care of myself. But when I'm doing all right, when I'm perfectly fine, and yes, I have shit to do, maybe I go to the grocery store, maybe I have to go to the gym, but when I'm feeling good, like I know that I should be open to helping my friends out, to helping my family members out. And now that I am practicing more of this, like I don't feel as lonely. I felt lonely when I was saying no to everybody and everything because I was just so into my schedule, my routine, my goals, me. If you do not want to feel lonely, if you want to feel like you are a part of a community, if you want to feel like you have good and strong friendships, you need to be okay with the fact that sometimes you're gonna be inconvenienced. And so I see, like, on TikTok, for example, of just people like always venting that they're lonely.
I'm in this really weird state where I feel super lonely and yet I don't want to hang out with anyone at all.
And I think that we are in a loneliness epidemic. And yes, you could tie this back down to like social media, the fact that not a lot of people make the effort to just like hang out face to face. A lot of people go home and just spend the whole day by themselves every single day. I mean, when I was working from home, that was definitely my routine, just me by myself every single day. And I definitely did feel very lonely. So there are multiple things that can cause this like loneliness epidemic. But I think that some of the things are tied to our lack of empathy. The first one is cancel culture. I think cancel culture started off with good intentions. I think what fueled it was like the Me Too movement, where people wanted to hold celebrities accountable, and like celebrities were getting away with so many things, just like so many things. I mean, like the sexual assault, like a shitload of things, and they still are. But I think cancel culture really started as a way to try to just not let celebrities get away with that. And at first it was kind of cool. I mean, I have like mixed opinions on it, because obviously like I want people to be held accountable for their actions, but the issue with cancel culture is that it leaves no room for growth. There's just so much judgment that comes with cancel culture, and like I said, our generation is really big on extremes. I think cancel culture has tried to paint people as either good or bad, and that's not the truth. Like, I've done horrible things, you've probably done horrible things as well. Like, everybody has been a shitty person at least one time in their lives. Like, it's just inevitable to be perfect. We are not perfect. We are not always going to be nice. We are not always going to show up as like the best versions of ourselves. That's like not realistic. But cancel culture really tried to just say, this person is really good, this person is really bad, let's cancel this bad person, let's not give them a platform anymore, let's ruin their lives because they're a horrible person and they deserve to go to hell. So there's just like so much unnecessary judgment, and that's not right, because everybody wants to play like the role of God, deciding what's right, what's wrong, and it's just like truly not up to us. Like, yes, and there are extreme cases, like I said, sexual assault, rape, like murder, like those are really extreme cases, and I think we can all kind of universally agree that if you do that, like, you're fucked up. But there are also more like nuanced scenarios where we still try to make a person who, I don't know, like, who am I thinking? Let's see, like when Ariana Grande licked the donuts, like, yeah, that was shitty, but like she didn't deserve to go to hell. And I think a lot of people were like critiquing her. I can't think of anything else, but I'm sure there are like more scenarios like that where it's just like, do we really need to go that hard at them? Like, why are we pretending that we're always perfect? If there's a camera following us like 24/7, like, we are bound to fuck up. And I think cancel culture just created this inability to hear each other out. Like, if you say something wrong, if you do something wrong, you're canceled, you're horrible. There's no room for you to like explain yourself or genuinely like apologize. Like, you're just done, you're canceled. That was like the intention behind cancel culture. And we think that this doesn't really affect us, like, oh yeah, we're just canceling famous people online. But I really think that the more that cancel culture is normalized online, the more likely we are to carry those opinions or perceptions about the world onto our daily lives. Like, we are gonna look at somebody do something stupid and we're just automatically gonna assume that they're a horrible person. We're gonna try to cancel our family members, our loved ones. And like I said, like, yes, there are some times, you know, where a person just repeatedly does you wrong. Okay, watch out for them. But if the person up once and is trying to just make up for it or learn from that experience and grow, then like why set them free, or why cut them off, or why cancel them completely? Then I think another cause, I mentioned it already, but social media. I mean, just like social media is kind of crazy because it's tied to more mental health issues. It's tied to increased depression rates, anxiety rates. It's just so bad for us. And I mean, it's no wonder. It leads to so much comparison and all of that. And when you are just so busy with like drowning in your own mental health struggles, it could be kind of hard to empathize with other people or try to connect with other people, because in your mind, like, it's kind of all about you, the pyramid of needs or whatever. Like, if your foundation is not good, like, you're not going to be able to look at other things that are a little bit less important to you. For example, how other people feel or other people's struggles or inconveniences, like, they're not going to matter to you because you're just doing so horribly. There's also just like more polarizing beliefs online. It's very, I mean, online is kind of crazy. It's very like either right wing or left wing, or just one side of the coin or the other side of the coin. Like, there's no nuanced approaches to things anymore. It's because the extremes get a lot of views. Like, if I were to post a video that said something either extremely like right-winged or extremely left-wing, that video would probably like get so much engagement. If I were to just like talk about a very polarizing set of opinions, like, that video would do so much better than me trying to come out here and talk about balanced approaches. And when somebody's intent is to make the most amount of money on social media, it's no wonder why they often promote the very polarizing beliefs. But this is really bad for us because we think that everybody around us also has those polarizing set of beliefs. Like, we think if we see a conservative, they're automatically going to be like super racist, super right-wing MAGA. And I mean, I don't know how it is now, but I would like to think that that is not the case. Same thing if I see like a very liberal person, but a lot of the times, like, it's not even like that. Like, people are literally just trying to survive. Like, we are all living in this very shitty economy, very shitty world, dare I say. I mean, life is beautiful. Life is beautiful. I'm not going to start projecting because, like, me, I'm not doing so hot mentally, so I don't want to start projecting. But I think we can all agree that there are just a lot of struggles right now, and social media has set it up so beautifully for us to just be divided, split down in the middle, like, for so many different topics. And then this is also a huge one, that there are so many studies that have shown that there is an increased amount of desensitization from people who play like video games like GTA 6, especially like at a young age, or like Call of Duty, like those games. It has to do something to your brain. Like, you're shooting people for the heck of it, for fun. And even though it's like, yeah, it's fake, but I feel like it has to do something to like your brain. And there are studies that show that violent video games do lead to more angry people, more violent people. Same thing with the shows. Like, I used to watch The Walking Dead so much, and when you see somebody like getting torn to shreds, getting eaten alive, like, it has to do something to you. That causes some sort of trauma to your brain. Like, that's not normal for us to be seeing such graphic visuals like that. Like, I would think that we would have to kind of like turn our brains off for a bit, or like our brains would have to just process that in a way that isn't as traumatic. And I think that leads to being desensitized to the whole situation. So also, when we're scrolling on TikTok, I feel like people are more open to posting their struggles and what they're going through. But when you see 5 videos of like people crying, 5 videos of people's houses being burned down or whatever it is, like, you have to at some point kind of flip the switch where you're like, I can't care because I can't do anything. So you have to be desensitized to it, or at least more desensitized to it, in order to not break, because that is really sad. So then when we hear about people in the real world, or even the people that we see on TikTok, like somebody's house getting burned down, even though you don't know that person, even though it has like a million likes or whatever, like at the end of the day, that is still a person who is struggling. And because we have to become a little bit desensitized to it to not get traumatized from that video, we have to lower the amounts of empathy that we feel for that person. And that could be very dangerous, because when we see somebody in the real world get in a car crash, we're like, oh, sucks to suck, and just like we keep it moving instead of like being like I would hate that if that were to happen to me. You know what? Let me go stop. Let me go see if she's okay. Let me go. I mean, like, even just like the bystander effect, the amount of people who do those like videos of, I don't know what they're called, but where it's like they place actors and maybe it's somebody stealing a kid off the street, and the amount of people that just don't do anything is alarming. The amount of people who just keep it pushing like nothing happened is scary. And I mean, to me, it makes sense that social media and the movies that we watch and the games that we play, like, it has to impact us on a level that we don't even acknowledge. Then there's also just like this rise of individualism within, especially like in the United States or like the Western hemisphere. There was this term called collective narcissism, where it kind of explains how we as a society are adopting more and more narcissistic traits. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're narcissists, it's just like we have more narcissistic traits. And I think this kind of makes sense because even like in the social medias, like, at least, I mean, I can speak for the US. I'm here in the US and I see so many videos that just really try to reinforce like focusing on yourself, like self-improvement, self-isolation, just very heavily focused on the self. And while I do understand that, I mean, this is kind of like a self-improvement channel, kind of. I get it, but I think when everything around us is telling us, focus on yourself, mind your business, do you, grow yourself, blah, 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 you, that could be very dangerous because we forget that community is also just so important for every single human being. Like, it's not just about ourselves. As much as we want to focus on just ourselves, like, our actions have consequences and they affect the entire world around us. We can try to tell ourselves that we're just living for ourselves, you know, like, your life, you do you, all of this shit, but it doesn't work like that. We are all interconnected. And then I think loneliness is just a byproduct of this extreme self-reliance. As much as we try to say like, oh, I'm not lonely, I'm alone but not lonely, like, it is normal if like you don't hang out with people, if you don't have a third place, if you go to work and go straight home after, or if you just go to the gym and just go straight home because you work from home, like, yeah, you're gonna feel lonely eventually. Like, as humans, we need that social interaction. We can try to deny it as much as we want, but talking to each other, talking to people, it feels good. And you can try to replace it with like podcasts or YouTube videos or TikTok videos, but it's like not the same. You need face-to-face interaction, whether that be with strangers or with your friends. And it's also just alarming how little people talk to each other at stores, at the gym. I see the same people. I've seen the same people for years, and I talk to just a handful of them, and sometimes I prefer it that way, but it's also like, why am I such an introvert? Like, I used to not be an introvert, but just I became one. I became a huge homebody, a huge introvert, and it's because of social media. Like, I get all of my social battery drained from like the comment section on TikTok, and that's like not healthy. Okay, so there's like a Dollar Tree by my house, and I go there a lot, like, to get my energy drinks or if I just need something, right? Like, my Dollar Tree is like my Target because I ain't got like Target money. So I go to Dollar Tree, and there's a lot of like older people at Dollar Tree, like the little señoras and the doñas, and sometimes they just come up to me and talk to me, and I'm having like the worst day, or I'm feeling super anxious, and you know, like, I'll take off my headphones to talk to them because obviously, like, I'm not gonna be rude, and they just spill so much tea, and I talk to them back, and then we're like, oh, well, así es la vida, like that's how life is. And then we go on about our days, but it's like that conversation turns out to be like the highlight of my morning. Like, in social interaction just helps you feel so much better. There have been so many times where I've seen somebody cry and I could easily just keep it pushing, like I didn't say anything. But when I go and talk to that person, it's like I'm able to make them feel better, and that makes me feel better. So it's like we're helping each other. But just, it's very scary how little people talk to you. Like, just everybody's just so shy. Everybody feels so awkward, and it shouldn't be that way. And I really think that living like this, it's like the easiest route we can take. It is so easy to force yourself to not care about people, because that is easier than admitting that you care deeply about others. Because sometimes we see so much bad shit happening in the world, and it almost makes us feel powerless, that we can't really do anything, or we believe that we can't do much. But that's a cowardly take. Like, when I was vegan, I had so many people like laugh at me, and I was vegan more so because of like the animals. Like, I went on a whole tangent. No, like, I watched so many videos on like how the animals were being treated, and it just grossed me out. It made me feel very gross. Like, I didn't want to be a part of the problem. And I mean, I knew, right, that okay, me not eating animal products, like realistically, I don't know how big of a difference it would have made, but I do know that even if it was just like 1% better, like I would have much rather have had that than be a part of the problem. And like, my friends who hung out with me, like, they knew I was vegan, so we would go out to eat at like vegan places, and that's like one dinner or lunch that we didn't eat at like a normal place. Or me contributing to like vegan products, I would like to think, like, it helped that vegan market expand, and now there's like whole restaurants that are vegan, like, so you can find a vegan alternative for everything. And yes, I could have easily been like, oh yeah, they're right, it's just one person. But like, imagine if every vegan person out there thought like that. Oh, go, but it's just me, like, what am I gonna do? Then there wouldn't be vegan anything. Like, there is power in numbers. And yeah, realistically, like, one person can't change the world, but if there's one person here and one person there and one person there and one person there, like, that will lead to change. This whole channel, like, I was so sad about the economic state of the world. Shout out Jaden Smith. But no, for real, like, I was just so sad. Like, I saw people around me who were just not being smart with their money, who were not looking into like financial literacy. I saw people around me who just wanted certain goals, wanted to reach certain goals, and just never did. Or people on TikTok who were just pushing these very toxic and unhealthy extremes. And I felt like I couldn't do anything. I've been there. I've had those perceptions of the world. I've been in a place where I haven't reached my goals. I haven't even believed that I could reach my goals, and I didn't put in the effort, or I was not able to stay consistent with my goals, or I was completely broke and financially like in a really dark place, or I just was a victim of my own life, or I had a rampant eating disorder because I had this very toxic and extreme approach to fitness. Like, I had been there, and those were points where I was just so miserable. So this whole channel was me trying to spread like the lessons that I've learned that helped me be happier, that helped me be more confident within myself, that helped me create like healthy routines and habits. So that is why I decided to create this channel. Like, am I changing the whole entire world? Probably not. Like, no, I'm not. But like, if I could help like at least one person, that's great. It's so much easier to just shut everything out and pretend like you don't care. But I think even if you're just like a slightly good person, like, you're gonna care about other people, and that's like not a bad thing. And so just the consequences of a lack of empathy outside of feeling lonely and the loneliness epidemic that some people think that we are experiencing, it's made inclusivity so exclusive. I think that's also why we are experiencing such a drift away from like the left or leftist liberal culture. And I'm seeing this with like the Snow White film. Like, people are attacking the actress for saying that she hates Snow White, that she thought that the 1937 film was outdated, that she wanted to create a more empowered character. Like, people are dragging that girl, and I tried to look at like the interviews, and I don't know if I'm just like not watching the right ones, but I'm like, why are we dragging her? I don't think it should be outdated to say that you want to recreate a character in a way that is more female empowered, in a way that, you know, like, you're not waiting around for a man to come and rescue you, right? Because we should teach our young girls like that, so that they don't end up in like toxic relationships. And a lot of the comments are like, oh, I hate woke people, cancel this woke actress, like, we're so tired of the feminazis. And it's like, to me, that doesn't sound so woke. But I do understand this like hatred for woke and like this rise of like anti-wokeness, because people are just tired of the fact that what is supposed to be a really inclusive space and like LGBTQ friendly and like feminist, so like women come over here, like, it's just so not inclusive anymore, because we only want the people who are perfect, because otherwise, like, you're gonna get canceled. And I think the space, or the idea of just cancel culture and, I don't know, wokeness, I don't want to like ever be like a anti-woke person, but I think sometimes it could be a little bit preachy of ideological purity. Like, we just want perfection, and that is just not true. Like, that's not realistic. And this venture for ideological purity is what has shifted the timeline. Like, I really don't recognize where the fuck at. People are just so okay with being racist. Everyone seems to be moving backwards in the sense of just being more conservative. And I think it's just because people are tired of the bullying. People are tired of the lack of empathy for each other, the cultural divide, the lack of community within communities, and just like this persistence on canceling everyone left and right. But the truth is that we will never experience a shift. We will never create a better world if we don't own up to the damage that we have caused. Because I really think that if we focus on ourselves, which I know is a little bit contradictory, but if we focus on just being better human beings, if we focus on being better community members, being more empathetic to each other, I think that can create a better world. People just want to be understood and accepted at the end of the day. So I guess the good news is that empathy is a skill, and all we have to do is just practice it. And empathy is not about agreeing with everyone. It's just about understanding that people are more than their worst moments. So challenge yourself to listen to people and connect with people. Yes, even the ones that you just really do not agree with. And you don't have to like them or, like I said, agree with them, but you can respect them. And the world will be a much better place when we make space for different perspectives. And just remembering that we cannot control the world, but we can control how we show up in it. So I encourage you guys to reach out to your loved ones, spark up a conversation with the random person you see on the street, even just like a really nice good morning, good afternoon, good night, have a great day today. Like, that's more than enough. Practice the golden rule, treat others how you want to be treated, so that together we can focus on rebuilding a better world. And I know it sounds a little bit cliche, but what else can we do, right? That's all we can really control, just like our own actions. But yeah, that was all that I had for you guys today. Thank you so much for listening to me yap. I do post, like I said, a lot of self-improvement, but like really taking a balanced approach to self-improvement, really trying to create a happier reality. I really believe that if you take care of yourself and if you are happy with yourself, you will show up as a better person. You will be able to treat others with more respect. You're gonna have more patience for other people. And so that is why I really like self-improvement. But like I said, I always take a balanced approach to it, because I have been there where I've just fell to like one side of the extreme and it was miserable, and I was making everybody around me miserable. So that is what my channel is all about. So if you are interested in any of those, do not forget to subscribe so that we can stay connected and embark on this like self-improvement journey together. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time.